Hi, this is Bim, also known as Mango Mustard, and today I'm going to be showing you the second part of my Fursuit refurbishment time-lapse. Just a disclaimer, this is not a tutorial, although I will be making commentary throughout the video to explain what I am doing and maybe how I'm doing it, but for the most part this is just a time-lapse to show how I'm refurbishing him, I guess. So let's get started. I apologize for the blurriness. For some reason my camera didn't want to focus, but thankfully it was only during the taping of the fursuit head, so there's not all that much detail that needs to be seen. I thought I may as well include the video just in case anyone wanted to see the process of it. To start off, I'm just marking where the middle of the head is, roughly where the eyes are going to be, where the mouth and lips end, where the neck and head will be joined together, and then I'll start drawing in all the patterns like the markings, you know, the eyebrows and things. As you can see here, I'm starting to add in the markings. So I started off with the eyebrows, and I'm adding the mask. If I don't like how the pattern looks, I'll just add more tape over the markings and redraw it. As I go through, I just add these little things in called tags, which just helps me know where everything lines up to make it easier to sew it in the right spot. Now I'm drawing arrows to indicate which direction the fur will go in, and just marking, what colors, what length the fur is. Some of the pieces are going to be shaved and some of the pieces are going to be left long. Now that I'm done drawing out all the markings, it's time to cut the duct tape off. Right now I'm just cutting all the excess pieces off, and then I'll continue to cut the patterns. Now I'm just laying the pieces flat on a piece of paper, just to make sure that when I'm tracing them onto the fur they don't crinkle or get misshapen. I also find it easier to flip the pieces when they're taped to paper as opposed to just having a sticky side. As you can see, with some of the pieces they're really curved, so I'll pretty much start at the flattest spot, press it down onto the piece of paper, and then I'll cut little wedges, I guess, just little slits, so that way they can separate and I can sew them together to create more curvature. With that piece, I decided to tape it back up and cut it on a different area so that way I could have a better seam. I taped this piece back together because I was finding it had too many grooves, so I wanted to cut it in a better angle. When I make noses, I like to fold a piece of paper in half and place the middle piece of the nose on the folded edge, so that way I can just flip it. Just makes things a little easier. Now it's time to start cutting all the patterns out of the paper. I like to leave about a centimeter seam allowance, so that way when I'm tracing it onto the fur, I don't have to worry about fiddling with adding it onto the fur. I can just trace right around the pattern. Now that I've finished cutting out all the patterns, I'm pretty much just extending the tags with a Sharpie or a texter, anything that can be seen through the other side of the paper, so that way when you flip the pattern, you can go over it and see it more easily. I also like to go into more detail on the paper side of the pattern, just because it's a lot easier to write more on the paper side with a pen as it is to write on the duct tape side with a Sharpie. For example, if it's something small like an eyebrow, I might write just the initials on the duct tape, like, you know, IB, maybe the color, the direction, and then on the paper side I'll write eyebrow, you know, red, this direction, you know, if it's long I'll write long, and just, you know, that sort of stuff. Now I'm just laying them out so that way you guys can get a rough idea on how they piece together. Looks a bit messy, I know. Now I'm just moving on to the neck. I really liked my old neck, it fit my head perfectly, so I pretty much just wanted to edit that, so I'm just scribbling on, you know, where new marks might be, where new cuts might be made, and then I'm going to take it off and, you know, draw onto a piece of paper, just so I can get a replica of that pattern, just slightly altered. So here I am, just cutting out the new grooves. Marking out exactly where the middle is to make it a little easier for tracing over. Here I'm just pinning it to make it a lot more obvious where the halves are. I'm just using some weights to hold it down while I trace it onto the paper. This is not my usual way of making necks. I usually start from scratch and just duct tape a whole head up. Here I'm just taking the measurements of the middle piece so I can trace those onto the paper. And I'll sew the curved bit to the straight bit and those two pieces together. And the front bit will be flipped over so it's just one whole piece. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week for cutting out all the furs. See ya!